What's going on, guys? I am super excited to talk to you about my next guest. His name is Brian Mazza. Brian Mazza was the co-founder and creator of a brand called Ainsworth, a sports bar brand where they serve incredible food and show all the sports in the world. Part of that company for quite some time, I think just under 10 years. Recently left his position there to launch a new brand called HPLT, which is an all-encompassing fitness lifestyle brand that has been making waves in New York City and beyond. They do live events. They do all sorts of really cool things. Brian is very similar to me. He's a young dad. He's got 2 young boys. Family man, entrepreneur, all-around great guy. Super inspirational and influential. Can't wait for you all to listen into this podcast. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Born or Made podcast. I am fired up today to introduce to you a good buddy of mine, unbelievable entrepreneur, killer in the fitness world, Brian Mazza. Welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Born or Made is a podcast where I ask guys and gals like you, people that are sort of just high achievers, passionate about what they do and do it really, really well, and inspire others. I ask the question, do you believe you were born with a sort of inherent ability to crush life the way you do, or do you think you were made over time? You don't have to answer that question now. However, I would love for you to just introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Sure. What's up, guys? Where am I looking? Am I looking right here? What's up,
Straight
guys?
ahead.
My name is Brian Mazza. I'm an entrepreneur. I created a brand in New York City called the Ainsworth in 2009. Recently left the hospitality industry for right now, but I feel like hospitality should be in every industry that you're in. I think that should be the number one thing. And I created a new brand called High Performance Lifestyle Training. It is a lifestyle retreat-based business where we go out and get the best of the best in every field, every industry, and we give that to our members. So we recently had a retreat here in New York City this past May with David Goggins. We recently had one in Miami with Matt Frazier, and now we're headed to LA in February.
Do you know who the keynote is there?
We do have our keynote, and we have a bunch of really cool activations right now. So we can't go live right now with our keynote, but it'll be very soon. And one thing we're doing is we have some Navy SEALs and Marines that we're bringing in to do some BUDS training. So that'll be very fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you're a guy that you inspire me every day, dude.
Thank
you
you,
inspire
brother.
me every day.
Me too.
I love following along on your journey.
The long runs right now.
The long runs. And you know what? I got to say, man, I remember 3 or 4 years ago we were training somewhere and you hated running.
Hated
it. Like, absolutely hated it. You were like,
Fuck
nah,
this.
I ain't doing this.
I know. I did hate it forever. I'm a soccer player. You know, for my whole life I played soccer, played in college. And it's just different types of running, right? Like, I was probably still running 7-8 miles a game, but it was just different. You're playing a sport, you're hitting, you're stopping, you're going.
Why do you think that you just sort of sunk into running now?
I don't know. I mean, just as life changes, right? Different things, different experiences. I think after our first retreat with David Goggins and seeing how much he ran and what it did to him mentally, you know, it kind of inspired me to do some more running.
Has it affected you mentally, you think?
I think so. I think it sometimes scares me a little bit because I think about the craziest shit on these runs. Or like, damn, I didn't pay that bill. Or
gives you like real time to
time to think and try to game plan and reflect. I mean, like, I never ran over probably 6 miles in my life outside of playing soccer before David Goggins. And then that next weekend I ran a half marathon on my own. Like, I just went to go do it.
How was that experience?
It was hard. I mean, I was like, I can't believe people, you know, I know you've done the full marathon. So after a half, I was like, people have to do this again for a full marathon? I think that's crazy. And I was running like 850 miles, like slow, you know, and I actually just raced in a half marathon this weekend.
Saw that, 133?
Nice. 133, so I improved 19 minutes from the summer.
That's big.
But that's when I think it starts getting fun. So I think once you start in any sport or anything you do in life, once you start developing skills to make you better in that field, that's when it starts getting really enjoyable, and that's when like the sucky times start to pay off.
Tell us about where it started, dude. Because I think, I believe, and fuck it, I'm just gonna go out there and say it. And I've been on this show, I've been a little bit hesitant about saying how I feel about this question: born or made, nature or nurture. I personally believe that entrepreneurs were born with some sort of DNA to make them think and act entrepreneurially. I believe that at my core. I don't know why, when I was a kid, I wanted to sell anything that I didn't like anymore. I don't know why I thought it was necessary to walk every dog in my 2-block radius as at a 10, 11-year-old kid. I don't know why I got into sales at a very young age. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why I, didn't want to, I started running and I wanted to run a marathon. I opened up a restaurant. I wanted to open up 10. I don't know why. I can't answer that question. But I do know it was with me forever.
Sure.
How about you?
On the entrepreneurial side, or just
in general?
In general?
Sort of anything I put anything that I enjoy or feel like I'm able to discover, hunt, I just go all in.
I think there's two parts to this. I think the human body in general is a high-performing machine. I think everyone has that ability to be that. I think being born, it's something special, right? It's like a creation. It's two people coming together and you're creating something really awesome, right? So we both have 2 boys, right? And they're young and everything. So I feel like my 5-month-old, just seeing that development, there's something special there. Now, as you progress as a kid and as you grow, it takes a certain thing or something going on that makes it click for people, right? So growing up, I was always a really good athlete, but I was lazy. But I always knew that I can get by on my talent of just being a good athlete.
Question, though. Let's just stop there for a second. So, athlete, you were a really good athlete. This is a weird question,
sure.
Right? What do you think? Why do you think you were different than other people that weren't great athletes? Why are you a good athlete and somebody else is not?
Well, my dad was a great athlete. His brother was a great athlete. My brother's a really good athlete.
So you think it's in the genes?
I think it's in the genes to a certain point.
Athleticism.
Okay. I really do.
I agree.
I think to a certain point, right? But it has to also click. Something in your mind has to click for you to take it to another level. So I was always very good and very talented, so I knew that would take me so far. But then when certain times got tough for me, when people started getting better around me, it was becoming more difficult for me just to rely on my talent. And it wasn't clicking for me to be the best that I possibly could be. So I think there's a 2-part to that. You have it, you're born with it. I think everyone is born with some sort of talent or some sort of special quality. But unless you know how to make it trigger or click for you to take it to the next level, that's what separates certain people. So I think everyone could be an entrepreneur in their life. And I think the reason why some people aren't is because it's not like they know what they want to do with their life. It's like they don't know what they don't want to do. And I tell people that a lot when they ask me these questions. They're like, what should I, when younger kids ask me, what should I do when I get out of school? I'm like, what do you not want to do?
Knowing what you don't like.
And I think that's kind of more important for people, right? And I think if it can click at a younger age for you, with sports or with anything, it allows you to become better at anything else you want to do as you continue to grow.
So
But it took me 25 years for it to click.
But do you think that's why you pushed really hard at soccer once you you played professional soccer?
I played in school. We went overseas and played in Belgium, Holland, and Germany. The Red Bulls asked me to try out when I was 31. 31 years old, I'm trying out. I should have been playing when I was 21. I definitely missed the boat. But it was so cool that I had that opportunity. But if I had the mentality I had now, or even at 30, when I was 18, there'd be no doubt that I would have played. And it just wasn't clicking.
That's interesting to think about.
But I think everyone has the ability when they're as a human.
So you don't think people are necessarily born with an inherent sort of drive? You think everybody is born with a similar set of skills?
Sure.
And it's how you.
Yep. It's certain.
It's the guidance
experiences. It's guidance. It's your environment, what you see, what you don't see, what you're exposed to, and it's putting those all into a pot, I think, and does something to your brain. And if it clicks, and it's a good thing it clicks, and sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't. You know, there's people like, this guy's not working up to his full potential. This person's not working to his full potential. Why is this person an overachiever? There's something that is clicking for them to understand. It's like math, right? Like I was horrible in math growing up. But like when I started to understand it, it was like something was clicking to make me get it. And I'm like, wow, it's really not that difficult.
Are there any moments that you can like call out to where you were like, I'm really dropping the ball, or I'm really crushing it?
So when I first moved to New York City, I was guest bartending. I lived in a rent-controlled apartment on like 89th between 2nd and 3rd. And that was super fun. And I started to realize, wow, like as I'm guest bartending, I had a really good network of people in New York City, and they were coming to see me bartend and everything. And I had a full-time job merchandising for a clothing company. And that was just miserable for me. I was making like 20 grand a year. I thought it was a lot then. I was just like, this is not what I want to do. But when I was guest bartending, it was super fun. I loved being around the people, and I didn't mind working at night. And it was really awesome because I was young and all that. So I think when I was doing both jobs, I was like, wow, this is what I don't want to do, right? This is what I see myself doing. It's the energy's great. I'm having a really good time. I'm making pretty good money. And then when I got the opportunity to go work out in the Hamptons, it was like a aha moment for me, being like, wow, this can be something that you can build upon. There's so many different avenues you can go with this job that's going to lead you to happiness.
The bartending gig.
The bartending gig, and then I started hosting out front of the nightclub. And that's when I was like, wow.
Building your Rolodex.
Building the Rolodex, seeing the opportunities, seeing like my life 10, 15 years ahead of, if I do this really well, if I build my network, if, you know, I think in hospitality in general, if you say you're going to do something for a client, or you say you're going to do something for a customer, you have to do it. And if you do that, you build the trust with them. And that just led me to being like the guy in the Hamptons for them. They knew if they came to me, I'd be able to execute for them. And you built that trust with them. And next thing you know, this person works for Nike, or this person works for this brand, or this person works for that brand. And now it's crazy. Like as I started at HPLT now, I've tapped into so many of those old relationships. These people that have created companies or work at brands, and now they're supporting me through my journey now.
Talk to me about the transition from like technician, like hourly paid employee, to entrepreneur, owner.
Yeah, so I tell everybody this, like when the first Ainsworth opened, I was a paid employee, and I owned 1% of one store. So I owned 1% of I had sweat equity in the 26th Street store. But I treated it like I owned 100% of it. And I think the investors and my ex-partner at the time saw that and knew that I really cared and I was really invested in it for the long run. And as we continued to open store after store, I got more and more equity, and then eventually I became a major, owner in the group, and then became president of the group. So it's with anything. Like if you really care about something and you see your future in it, I never worked for the paycheck. I always worked because I believed in it, and it was like a second home for me. And I always treated the restaurants and the experience like if people were coming over to my house. When I have a dinner party at my house, or if my family comes over for the holiday, or if you and your family came over for the holiday, I want you to leave and get in your car and be like, wow, like the fireplace was great, and the music was awesome, and the food was great, and it was clean, it was neat. And I always took that experience when I opened properties. Like, as it's like, the first impression is huge.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to try to do that with the Ainsworth and everything. So as I was still always a paid employee, obviously, but I just had a lot more ownership in each property.
Yep.
But I think if you really show that you care about it and you really put the work in like you are a real owner, you can definitely grow in any field. But as you know, being a real owner sometimes isn't the best thing. It's a lot of responsibility.
Brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal. Everybody wants it until
Everyone wants it until you get into it.
until you put on your firefighter hat, and that's all you are.
Yep.
What do you think in terms of business, not necessarily only skewing towards hospitality because that's a business that you and I are from, but just in general in business, do you have like a philosophy? What, like, number one priority? What makes you successful in your industry?
What I'm doing now, or just in general?
Just well, if you had to just say Brian Mazza's philosophy of business, this is what I believe, this is what I do on a regular basis, because I know consistently it's made me successful.
I think, and you know this better than probably anybody, but your employees and the people that work for you need to be treated number one. I think that's the most important thing. And I think, unfortunately, as we were growing so quickly, that kind of got away from us because you're so focused sometimes on the bigger picture stuff that your employees are you work for your employees. You really do. You have to make sure that they're all good. You have to make sure that they see you as a human. You need to treat them like they're humans.
Is there any specific things that you do or have done in the past that sort of like tips and tricks to help?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we had 500 employees at one point, anywhere from like, say, front of house, back of house, and kitchen, all crazy stuff in corporate world. But I made it a point that I would go around and talk to everybody about how was your weekend? Like, what's going on? I see, and I would engage with them in social media. So I would see, like, if Susie's training for a 5K or if someone's doing this, and I would set them up, say, at a gym or get them a membership somewhere. Just treat them like I would want to be treated. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? I had a really horrible experience at one point when I first moved to New York City.
Tell me.
Yeah, it was really, really fucked up. And I went on a job interview for a denim company and got the job. Received the job over email. The guy was like, dude, come in. You're starting on Monday. This is going to be great. I show up my first day, and they were like, yeah, we couldn't give you the job. So picture you just get out of school, you interview, you get a job, you already moved into the city, you think everything's going to be great, and it's just like, yeah, we couldn't hire that position. I'm like, but on Friday you told me we had the job. And you're just like heartbroken that way, right?
Yeah.
I ran into that guy 5 years after I ran into him at Bloomingdale's shopping. And I was so fired up I had to go say something to him. So I went up to him and said, hey, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to say his name. Remember that time you offered me a job and I showed up the first day and you said I didn't have the job? He's like, no. I'm like, he's like, oh yeah, and whatever. He's like, I want to explain. I said, I just want you to know, if you have kids, I hope that your kids never have to go through something like that. Because it was so horrible for me to experience like the work life that way. And I always keep that really close to my heart when I hire people, or especially if you have to let people go at certain points in the business.
But can I say something, dude? Like, that moment, it's so great that you mentioned this. That moment where you're like, horrible, because it probably felt horrible.
Horrible.
But the truth is, it's a monumental moment in your life. You just said that you take it with you everywhere.
Everywhere I go.
You think about it with it's one of those moments where you couldn't pay for that shit.
Sure.
No amount of money would ever be able to teach you how you felt, and now you use that as it's like the shiniest tool in your toolbox as to what not to do and how not to treat people. And I think those experiences, though they suck, and you and I know, because you and I talk a lot about our business ventures and journeys, and there are amazing times, but there are also some really difficult times when you're sitting at the top. And those difficult times, I'm learning, and I think honestly, Muay Thai kickboxing has taught me to learn to love the fucking pain. But I love the pain. Like, even though it hurts, and even though it's not fun for people around me, like, I know that the shit that I'm going through, even right now, today, I had a phone call that was just like, it's like literally I felt like I got punched in the kidney. It was just took the wind out of my sails. I was like, oh my God. But I've been through enough, and I'm sure you've been through enough.
Sure.
I know you've been through enough that these moments are, look, nobody's driving a Lamborghini. You know what I'm saying? Like, that stuff rarely happens. People really driving the Lamborghini. You know what I'm saying? Like that. There's tons of wealthy people out there, absolutely. But like, it just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? It comes with pain.
And I think that also, I use that with fitness too. A lot of people, I'm sure they reach out to you or they say like, wow, how do you stay so fit or this and that? And
Number one question.
right? And it's great, but like this has been like 25 years in the making,
Yep.
right? And I hate to break everyone the news, but there's people that are like way more fit than me, way stronger than me, can run way better than me. Like this is just what's working for me. But it's been, the early mornings. I see you on Instagram getting up super early while I'm feeding still and feeding the baby while you're able to get after it. But like, those are the days you don't want to train. These are the times it's cold. Like, yesterday I had to do a 6-mile really fast run. I did not want to do that.
No.
And I'm doing it for myself to become better, but like, that's what's going to separate me from the person who's saying, how are you staying fit?
What I get that I could honestly say that's I probably get that question in DM 3 to 5 times a day.
Yeah, and then when I honestly when I respond and I like list it sometimes, and I'm like, I don't drink, I don't go out, I have 2 kids, I eat relatively clean, I work out 6 times a week, I drink a lot of water, I do X, Y, and Z. This is how I stay fit. Then I ask the person, well, what's your life like? And there's like, oh, I'm drinking 4 days a week, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm like, well, just think about, put it on a scale, right? Like, let's weigh it, let's see. Maybe these are the reasons why it's not working for you. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I think that list that you just said though. I think it ties back to. I think you were born with something, man.
I think we all are, but it takes a while to click. There has to be something to make you.
But there's a very small percentage of people that do click, is what I'm saying. Why do so many people find it hard to stay fit and eat clean?
But why didn't it click when I was playing college soccer?
I don't know. I mean, I was a drug addict until I was 23, But there was something in you. You were playing college soccer, all the kids that I knew that I looked up to that were older than me were at the club when I was running through the club with a bucket of ice on my shoulder. Mm-hmm. Every time. It wasn't like I was like hanging with them. I was working.
Yeah, I remember when it would snow. Like I got so excited to go. I never really spoke about this, but like whenever it would snow in my neighborhood, I used to get so pumped to go house to house to make like $10, $20 a driveway. I don't know why. Maybe it was the feeling of the money. I don't know. But I would make like $80, $100.
I know that feeling.
I loved it. Maybe I just liked the negotiation with the older people or showing them that I like to work. But like I loved doing that. I should probably still do that. I could make a lot of money in my town now.
So it's funny. Like I last summer, my son Finn he's 4.5 now. Last summer he was 4. I was like, yo, dude, how about we go to the store upstate? We were upstate. I was like, how about we go to the store? We buy some lemons. We make some lemonade. We set up on the street in front of the house, and we sell lemonade. And he was like, yes. I was like, you make the sign. We'll make the lemonade. I'll pay for the lemonade. Whatever we make on the street, you pay me back. The rest is yours.
Sick.
He got amped up. I'm telling you, amped up to the point where he was jumping up and down in the street, trying to stop every car. At one point, he had like 6 or 7 cars coming up for lemonade. The first day, a neighbor of ours joined. The first day.
Did they get a cut of it?
He did. But he was helping out big time. The first day, they sold $90 worth of lemonade first day, and everything together was $17 for me to pay for it. So I gave both of those kids like $40 a piece. You know what I mean? It was incredible, and like to see how excited my son was about that. Every single weekend in the summertime, he asked me to sell lemonade now. I think that there's something in the genes.
Yep.
I do, you know. I mean, I'm divulging more than I typically do because I feel like I can talk to you about this because I feel like we're pretty similar in terms of like what we've done in our career.
I think we should talk, like, this is probably not in the topic, but we spoke about this the other day. So Leo came home from school the other day, and I was like, how's school? And, you know, he's like, oh, you know, I hang out with Elliot, I hang out with Ella, she's funny. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, isn't there, like, he's like, Robert's mean. I'm like, what do you mean Robert's mean? Now, my son's 2.5, right? And we spoke about this at lunch a couple weeks ago. I was like, what do you mean Robert's mean? And he's like, yeah, Robert's mean. I'm crying. I'm like, okay, so I dropped him off at school, and, you know, me and you were trying to be tough guys. So I go to the teacher, and I'm like, hey, like, you know, Leo just mentioned to me, like, this kid Robert's mean. She's like, yeah, Robert's a little aggressive towards the other kids. And she's like, your young kids, they're so young at this age, they don't really know how to lie yet. So they tell you the truth about everything. So she's like, yeah, you know, Robert pushed your son, and he fell, and he started crying, and now he thinks Robert's mean, and Robert's just been aggressive, blah, blah, this and that. So, like, I spoke to Leo the other day, and he keeps bringing up his kid Robert being mean. I was like, listen, now I don't know if this is good parenting or not. My son's 2.5, but I said,
push him back.
Said, if he takes your bottle or your toy, push him back. The next day, Leo came to me. I was like, how was school? Robert was crying. And I was like, oh, what happened? He tried to take my baba. And I pushed him. But guess whose baba's not being taken anymore? Now, I don't know at 2.5 if this will screw him up longer, long term from now. But I felt like it was the right time for me to speak to him about that.
You know, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know. I mean, I told you about a scenario that I had with Finn, which was like this kid. I watched this kid, like physically assault my kid. They're 4. You know what I mean? Like he like smashed the toy out of his hand and pushed him. I took everything in my power not to like lose it in the room. I went up to the teacher and I did the same thing. I was like, what's going on? Is this guy like, is he a tough kid? Like, you know. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I think that teaching your son to stand up for himself can't be bad.
Yeah, and I also said, like, tell the teacher, talk to the teacher and all that stuff. He's 2.5, right? So it's like, I'm not talking to a 15-year-old.
Right.
But, like, I felt like it was a moment that dad and son needed to have. Because it was bothering me every day. This kid's mean. I'm like,
yeah,
you
no,
shouldn't be
that
talking
sucks.
like that now, right?
That sucks. I wonder if anybody out there has any advice on situations like that knows what could potentially happen down the road. How do you handle that?
I mean, I was always told, you know, if someone is like physically about to hurt you or get into a fight with you or bullies you, like, handle your business. I was always told that way. I would never get in trouble if it was warranted.
Your father would tell you that.
He did. My mom too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, I always had an older brother too. That if anyone did mess with me, they'd be handled.
They'd be in trouble.
They'd be in a lot of trouble. But I think it's an important thing.
What do you? I mean, culture. What's your thought on culture? Like, what are you? I mean, you are obviously a culture-oriented guy. You got people that are tagging you all day long.
Sure.
You've created a community, which is strictly culture focused. I mean, it just is. So what is your take on culture?
You know, culture is a funny word because it means something different to everybody, right? Like I grew up in a certain culture of like family being number one always, right? Like dinner at a certain time, you know, be home with your family, have dinner. And I was fortunate enough to have a dad who was a teacher, so he was home early, and my mom was a hairdresser, so she was able to make her schedule where we all ate together.
Every night.
Every night.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock when the fire alarm went off in the town, you'd be home. But that was a really big thing because we all were able to catch up. And I know that's not for everybody. And it's not even like for my life now, right? Because my wife is a journalist at CNN, so she's busy. And my new schedule.
Do you guys have dinner at the same?
We try to, but like, you know, sometimes she's on air or I have a meeting or whatever. But what I think what I was trying to get at is that I always felt very comfortable in that environment. And I think that it taught me to be comfortable to talk to my family about what was going on in my issues and be very straightforward with my family. And we always just were able to be honest with each other. So I think with culture, for me, it's about being honest. And it's about, holding yourself accountable on certain things. And I think why people tag me and why people are interested in what I'm doing is because I'm just showing the world. I'm like an open book, right?
You don't care what people think.
I never cared what people thought about me. Like, if I was me wearing tights back in the day when no one was wearing tights in New York City at workout places, or me talking about my IVF journey, having 2 kids and not being able to get my wife pregnant and stuff like that. Like, I just talk about it because I'm secure enough to talk about it. And I think people like that because they can, kind of talk to me about their issues that they're going through and makes them feel more secure. So like I post all these things like this is what works for me, or this is what has helped me complete X, Y, and Z. So I think culture is a lot about honesty and just being as open as you can. And I think that's how you can, and that just goes back to when you have employees, right? And the culture you want to create there, you want to be honest and transparent with people. You want them to know that you are human, you are an open book too, that come to me for questions, come to me for problems, like I truly care for you.
I hear you. I think having an honest culture is obviously an amazing foundation. But when I think about culture, when I'm like traveling, my favorite thing to do is I hate to say this, but it's real, right? Like if the food sucks in a particular place, I'm a lot less likely to get excited about going there.
Okay.
Like, even if it's beautiful, like, the Caribbean, right? Like, it's not known for its food, but it's fucking beautiful, right? And so when Don and I are like, oh, we go, let's go somewhere warm. And you're like, oh, the Caribbean's easy, it's right there. But I'm like, but there's not like a cuisine. Like, there is a cuisine, right? But it's not food that I want to eat all, like when I think of traveling, I'm like, I want to go to Spain,
Italy,
France, even in Denmark. Like, there's places that are South America where the food is, like, they're just like, and so when I think of culture, I think about, like, how people celebrate, how people dance, how people communicate, how people mourn, how people eat, how people commune, like, where are they going, what are the things that they're doing, how they talk, how they walk. That's what I think about when I close my eyes and really think about culture. And I think being able to create that where people feel like they're a part of something that is truly meaningful. Like, wave the flag. Like, I am on the fucking team. I am wearing the jersey.
But doesn't that start with the transparency and honesty for people to feel comfortable to do that?
100%. That's why I think the honesty and transparency got to be foundational.
It has to be.
Like, I think that's where you build on that
sure.
slab, right? But how do you think the culture of what you've done with HBLT is it everything? Do you think that is it?
I think it is it because I think people see what we're doing, how we're doing it, implementing certain routines that we have every single day in our lives, that it's proven you're going to become better at what you're doing. So it's not like me just preaching. This worked, but like it 100% works when you have the consistent routine, when you're training a certain way, when you're eating a certain way, healthier, cleaner. Doesn't matter if you're a vegetarian or whatever. As long as you're doing everything, what we say is like our position is to make you, when you walk into an HBLT retreat to when you leave, that you've done every single thing now you can take home with you to make yourself better and create that routine. So either it's our high-performance coaches coming in and talking to these people, or the keynotes we're getting for people's stories and their journeys. We're just showing you that it takes a certain amount of things that you have to do in order to get on track to become the best version of yourself.
What do you think the number one roadblock for most people is, just in general?
Just start.
Just
getting started,
out of bed.
getting it out. Like I was talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about like, dude, how are you running so much right now? I was like, I hate, like you said before, I hated running. If you told me 10 months ago I had to go run a mile or 2 miles, I'd be like, no, dude, not happening. Now I get my training thing and it's like Saturday, 15 miles. Like, what? And I'll just go do it.
You just do it.
So I think it's a matter of like just getting that confidence of starting small, starting with small examples to get small wins that will lead to big victories.
I think that's what it is.
It'll build the confidence. It'll make you feel more secure about yourself. You feel proud of it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with boasting that you're super proud of what you're becoming or who you're becoming. I think that you're just showing people you're more secure about it.
And also, like I posted something not long ago about winning. And I got so much shit for it. Winning. Like, oh, you want to, it's not all about winning. I'm like, no, it's not all about winning. But the truth is, winning makes you feel good.
100%.
It just does. And like, the journey is incredible, absolutely, but winning makes you feel good. And I think why fitness and wellness has become such a big part of my life is because every single day I have an opportunity to win.
You go in and you leave different.
100%.
And you're better.
I never walk out feeling worse
Then you went in.
than I went in.
Like, I had my town half marathon this Thanksgiving weekend. I came in 21st, right? I never 21st. That's a big win for me.
That's huge.
It's not first. My brother told me
23
if
people?
you're not first, you're last after. Your big brother, right? Like, thanks, dude. But 21st is pretty good at a 363.
It's great.
And it just shows that if you consistently work at something, even on the rainy days, the cold days, the shitty days you don't want to do it, the sick days, you will improve. It's just how it is in life and anything you want to do. But I don't think people really understand that because they might feel intimidated. They're maybe not educated on it. Maybe it doesn't come easy to them, so they don't want to do the work.
So we'll finish on this. If you're sitting across the table from you when you're playing college soccer,
I'd punch myself straight in the face right away.
or someone of the like, where there's you know what you're capable of, and there's someone that you're looking at that has all the ability to do what they want to do, quote unquote, but are just not able to get out there and do it. What do you do? What do you say?
Well, you never want to listen to anyone older telling you that when they say this doesn't last forever, right? But I think you have to tell them that in 5 to 10 years from now, this life could mean something totally different to you in such a better and more meaningful way than if you just give it a bit more effort. And I think at that age, I was selfish. I was the world against me. Why aren't I doing this? Why aren't I doing that? And I think if I had someone telling me in a snapshot of like, this is where you could be if you just tweaked a little bit in these areas. Because the last thing you want to do is overwhelm somebody. Mm-hmm. And I think once you overwhelm them, and then they just get more discouraged. So I think if you just break it down for them, if you can tweak some of these areas that you're weak in and just become 5 to 10% better in those areas, you will become so much more stronger as an athlete. You will make a lot more money than you probably would be making now. Things would just be different. Mm. And I think a lot of people just get overwhelmed when someone's saying, you're not doing this way, you're blah, 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 and you're like, whoa, and you feel attacked. But if you could break it down for them on a granular level of saying, like, just let's tweak these certain things in your life, just a little bit. So either if it's get up a bit earlier, 10 minutes earlier every day, or if it's run a little bit more each day, or stay after practice 20 minutes and hit free kicks when you want to just go out and meet that girl or drink. Like just 20, you can still meet that girl and drink. Just do it 20 minutes later. Like certain things like that, you'll become a better athlete. I think I would have probably been like, okay, like I could figure that out.
You think you would have been able to hear it?
But I was just like, I hated my coach, I hated this person, I hated this teammate. But it was me, I was the problem. Now that I look about it back,
And all right, one last thing before we finish. When you say that snap happened, that change happened, when was it for you? Like, do you remember the moment where you were like, oh, I'm looking at things differently now?
Yeah, I remember it was like a Sunday at the Ainsworth when we had like 600 people there. And I said, wow, like this is what I created. Now it's time to go over like full steam ahead in every area of my life. Because I know this 600 people here is not going to last forever. I knew it, right? Like if I went back and said in soccer, wow, this is not going to last forever, but I might have the ability to do something with it long term or prolong this a little bit longer, be better at it. So I sat there and I was like, wow, this is not going to last forever. This is amazing. But I need to get sharper in every other area of my life. So when this does eventually end, I'm going to be set up to do whatever I want to do when I want to do it. And I just took my fitness to another level because I really leveraged both sides of my life. Just like you were always known as like the fit restaurateur, good-looking restaurateur guy, right? You were always that person. So you could leverage a lot. So I leveraged the fitness side of things, and then I was always like, yeah, but I got 8 restaurants. And they're like, what? How are you doing this? How are you doing that? And it became a story. And you have to be able to tell your story, and you better hope it's authentic enough, because if not, you'll be exposed eventually. But I was very authentic with, yeah, I don't drink anymore. I have these restaurants. This is how I live my life. I'm going through IVF. This is the journey, but I'm real. I have sucky days. I have great days. I'm human. But you bet your ass you'll find me at the gym crushing it like you've been with us working out. You see how hard we train. This is just how it is. This is how we operate. This is how I'm able to process everything.
You're a special dude.
Love you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Yep.
Until the next venture, I'm sure you're cooking up some awesome shit.
Trying. Thanks.
Brian Mazza, y'all.